Hi everyone, it's Lesley here. I hope you're having a fabulous day. I made a card on my Come Craft With Me live stream last night, but we had some audio issues, so we decided to edit this into a shorter video today. So huge thanks to Craig, who pretty much did most of the work. He's the best. And this card features bitty bears by My Favorite Things, and I think they're so cute. I'm starting off with a Lawn Fawn die, which is the outside in scalloped rectangle die, and I'm going to be adding some colour to this with some ink blending, but normally I reach for my distress inks or my distress oxides, but I thought I would use some dye ink this time because I've not done that in a little while, and I really like the way that it gives kind of a soft feel to the card. So this is called Audrey Blue, and it is from Simon Says Stamp. I'm going to mix that with a yellow colour, and this is called Butter from Lawn Fawn. This is new to me, new stash, and every time I see it I think of Laura Best, and she goes, it blends like butter. So I'm using Audrey Blue and butter and working this back and forth. It does take a little bit more elbow grease, as they say, for the dye ink, but we get there in the end, and I'm just going to blend it a little bit more to try and get that transition a little more even. So I'm going back and forth, and that's kind of what makes the magic in a nice blended background. When you work it with kind of alternate the colours, blue then yellow, and I faded the yellow out to the top as well. I'm going to splatter that with some clean water and dab off the excess with a paper towel. And I also did give it a little spritz with my distress sprayer as well. While that's drying, let's get stamping. So I'm using the bitty bears, and on the live stream we kind of picked out a couple together. I thought these three were super cute. They're all super cute, but I like these ones. And I'm using my Misty to stamp these onto some Clairefontaine DCP paper, which is actually one of my new favourite go-to papers, especially for Copic colouring, which is what I'm going to use to colour these cuties. I am also going to stamp a couple of the little tiny images. I've got a cupcake, the little tiny present, and the heart as well. And I'll do these a couple of times because I want to do my bears in kind of an orangey yellow colour to tone in with that background. So this is YR31, and I'm going to just blend that out with a colourless blender to get a nice transition into the middle of his belly. I will do a little tip to tip technique here, and actually in the live stream I realised that my colourless blender, I had bought a new one, and I started using it and realised that my old one is so dry. I don't think I really realised it until I saw the comparison between my old one and my new one. But I did learn, thank you Tally, that these ones, these Copic markers are refillable, which I did not know that. So I'll have to get a refill for my colourless blender. Anyway, let's add a little colour with my reds. I'm using some red and orange tones just to be my pop of colour against my background. And then the little cupcake and the little present as well will be blue. So I've kind of got carried on with that colour theme. Before I use my Happy die, which is a Mama Elephant die, I'm going to stick this frame right on top of my scallop rectangle because the top of the Happy, the H, overlaps where that frame is. So I wanted to have an inlaid Happy word so that I could stamp the word birthday right on top. So very carefully I set my die aside because I don't want to lose any of those little bits that are in the inside. And then to actually act as a card base, I cut a folded note card down so it's slightly smaller than that scalloped rectangle, so that I can stick those inlay pieces down really well. I'm adding a couple of pieces of Stick It adhesive onto my card blank, just kind of where I think the word happy will be. And I have some of these offcuts that were perfect for this project. I always keep those little pieces because you never know when they're going to come in handy. So now I've stuck on my scalloped rectangle, and where I have that word happy is completely sticky, and I'm actually going to carry through that pop of colour with those red and orange tones and die cut the word happy out of some cardstock that I've coloured in an ombre effect with my Copic markers. This is just some bog standard scratch cardstock. It's not a fancy Copic friendly one. It doesn't really matter whenever you're cutting out a very small amount from it. But I did blend that to have a somewhat ombre effect. And then I will use my pokey tool to poke out all the letters there. So let's stick this in place. And then very carefully add all those little bits that go inside the loops, the loop-de-loops. And for the bigger ones I used my hand, but when it got to the little tiny ones, they were really hard to figure out which one went in where. So I used a jewel picker to help me get those right in there. Now it's time to do the greeting, or the stamping, and I wanted the stamping to be this really bold birthday image. This is actually from a company called Woodware, and I like the way that it's really bold and kind of pops. You have that pop of black, but where we have the inlaid sections, the ink doesn't transfer completely. So I use my Memento brush marker just to try and fill in some of those gaps. I knew that would happen, but it worked quite well with the marker. And then added some clear glossy embossing powder on the top, and that kind of smooths it out. Let's stick on my little bears, and the one with the balloon's going to go over here on the right, and then for this guy on the left I actually tucked him behind the loop of the H. He's flat on the card, but the other two bears are popped up, and then I'll pop some hearts on here, and I'll cut out a few of these little presents as well. And this larger present is actually from the My Favorite Things Beast Friend set, so it must be the same illustrator because it's the same kind of style of present, but coordinates perfectly with the little present in the bear's hand. Let's darken up those eyes with a little glaze pen. And then I had some clear gems, which I coloured with my Copic markers. And this is a great way to get the coordinating colour of gems for your project. So like I said, this was a card that I made on my live crafting stream, and that happens on Friday nights over on my YouTube channel. And I hope you can join me. We have lots of fun. It is at 9 PM British Summer Time, which I think is about 4 PM Eastern Time over at YouTube/Hungry Heffy. See you then. Thank you so much for watching this video. Here's some more videos that you may like. If you haven't already, please subscribe to make sure that you don't miss any of my other videos as soon as they're released. You can also leave me a like and a comment down here, and don't forget to follow me on social media @Hungry Heffy. I'll see you there. Have a great day and happy crafting. Bye!